Hi, this is Ted. Today I'm going to be talking about the prophets who are stressed out at this point because their prophecies are close, very close, within 2 weeks of not being fulfilled. And they have spent years, some of these guys almost every day, saying President Trump will be the next president. And God will do this amazing revival because President Trump is there. And they're within 2 weeks of seeing Joe Biden become president. Now, they are still claiming that some big, huge turnaround, God is going to reveal himself in the next 2 weeks. But let me tell you, they are going to be disappointed. And they're going to have to deal with that. How are they going to deal with that? That's what I want to get into today. Reality is different than what they're saying, and they know it. They realize it. They're facing that, and that's their struggle right now. And it's going to be bigger in the next 2 weeks. Because God told them President Trump was going to be the next president. And President Trump is doing everything he can to ruin it. So how can this be? Their beliefs, their ministries, their reputations, everything's at stake. Their identities, and worst of all, their understanding of their relationship with Jesus Christ. They are facing a huge crisis because they believe they have been special with God. God has been revealing his word through them. And if it was just a one-time thing, they can pass it over. But they have been saying this over and over and over and over again. They've been putting everything, they've been putting their whole hearts and their souls into this. For years, for months. And when the crisis comes, what are they going to do? Deuteronomy chapter 13 talks about false prophets. If a prophet speaks and things don't happen as they say, they should be killed. Deuteronomy is the one that says, you're going to prosper. And that's what they hold on to. That's what they jump to. That's what they constantly say. You're going to prosper because Deuteronomy says you're going to prosper. Well, if you're going to be using Deuteronomy for prosperity, how about that verse which says if your prophecy doesn't come to pass, you should be given the death penalty? What is cognitive dissonance? Good question. Cognitive dissonance is when you have two opposing views in your head that make you feel very uncomfortable. For example, I love the president. I believe he is honest. He is looking for the good and the wealth and the health of the country. But there's an opposing view that hits me. And that is that he says the elections are stolen. 200 courts cannot find this to be true, but he says it is true. This is cognitive dissonance. The uneasy feeling I have. I need to find a solution. So I look for stories that'll help me through this cognitive dissonance so that I have only one solution. And the solution I'm looking for will be something that supports the president. So I look for a solution to this cognitive dissonance, and I find it in a story. And the story says the media is lying and that there are cover-ups. I like this because it solves my issue, because it takes away the cognitive dissonance, that uneasy feeling I have. So now I look for evidence to support my theory. This is called confirmation bias. Facing the struggles of a cognitive dissonance within us, we look for solutions. We look for stories. stories that will help us out of that discomfort. The stories that we look for help keep our dignity, help keep our beliefs strong. Back in the 1840s, there was a man called William Miller. And William Miller predicted that Jesus Christ was going to be coming on October 22nd, 1844. And he was going to rapture us, take us out of this world, send us to heaven, at least the Christians. And so this group of people gathered together and they prayed and they were convinced, and some of them sold everything and gave up everything, preparing for this day. And they gathered together. Nothing happened by the end of the day. How do you think people felt then? It's called the Great Disappointment. And they needed to be able to relieve the cognitive dissonance they were facing. And even though some of them left, others built up a story. A story that said, in heaven, on that day, God did something with Jesus. And as I remember, it's been a few years since I've studied this part, as I remember, Jesus walked into the throne, into the inner section, the Holy of Holies on that day, in heaven's holies of holies. And that's what happened. And that helped them to be restored. That helped them to realize we weren't wrong, we just misunderstood a little bit. And from that movement, they became very strong again and became the Seventh-day Adventist Church. In 1950s, another group believed that they were going to be raptured because a woman received revelation from aliens. Dr. Video, I believe his name was. And this alien talked to her and told her the world is going to be destroyed in December, probably December 21st, 1954. So she gathered people together, and once again, people sold their possessions. They gave up everything. They prepared because they believed with all their hearts they were going to be raptured up. They met in a non-denominational church. And they sat all day long. And when the time came, nothing happened. And somebody noticed the clock on the other wall is 10 minutes slower. That's probably what's going on. So they waited another 10 minutes. And again, nothing happened. Were they going to be destroyed with the rest of the world? And then, later on that night, the leader got another revelation or a call from the aliens. Because of your faith, because of your beliefs, the world is saved. Now, an interesting thing is beforehand, they didn't want news to be, or media to be dealing with them. They just wanted to keep out of the sight of the media. But afterwards, they became diehard evangelists, that the world was saved through their group. And they told the media, and they did everything they could to set up any kind of news they could. So both of these had a tremendous disappointment. And both of them found ways out. How did they? They found stories. Those stories were able to bring together the disconnect and help them keep that which they lost, their beliefs, their ministries, their reputations, their identities. And in the case of President Trump and the prophets, it will help keep their relationship with God as it is, and their prophecies to continue. Whatever story they use has to be able to save their ministries, has to save their beliefs that they were really hearing from God. It has to protect them from facing the truth that they were wrong, that they are false prophets. They can't deal with that. They put too much into it. So they need a story. What will that story be? I only have a few possibilities. Number one, the Christian community did not have enough faith. They did not claim enough. They fell away too quickly. And like in the movie Elf, where Santa just needs the Christmas spirit to get his sleigh going and flying, God needs that faith to get President Trump going and flying. And without that faith, and because people lost their Santa Claus-like faith, President Trump's sleigh will not go anywhere. It is possible. I don't give this a big possibility, but it is possible that something else might fly up. Like on that day, actually, something big did happen. President Trump was inaugurated in heaven. One other possibility. Other possibilities. I don't know. You tell me, what are some possibilities? Let's try to guess before the event. And I'll give a big old kudos to the person who guesses the best one, who really gets it. Right on. All right, this is Ted. You guys have a good one. Bye.